So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined on this beautiful morning. We're in the Palm, Dubai. I'm here with Bas Kooijman of DHF Capital. And this is the first recording you and I have done. We've just actually spent half an hour walking around Raffles on the Palm, just getting some video and some content created. But now we get to the meat of the thing. We can actually talk together. And we're going to unpack a little bit of your journey. And then we're going to unpack some of the company journey and the fund that we are very proud and privileged to be representing here in GCC. But before all of that, a very warm welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very good to have this day together.
Well, thank you for being here. We were just laughing together, weren't we, over a drink before, because of course you forgot to invite me to Amsterdam for your drinks event, which I hear was a huge success for the existing investors in the fund.
Yes.
Just actually, let's start there. Tell me a little bit about how that went. What was the dream of getting everybody together in the Netherlands?
So actually, it's a very nice Dutch tradition. They maybe don't organize so much business-related events for clients, for example. It might be something Christmassy with the team. But New Year's events are just a thing in the Netherlands. So you organize a New Year's welcome party, let's say. And you kind of look with entrepreneurs together towards the new year and the new year coming. And we know that most of our clients are entrepreneurial anyway. So they are or entrepreneurial individuals investing with us, or they are running their own firm. And we thought like, okay, there's so many of them, but they mostly don't get invited. They mostly have to organize one. So we were like, okay, let's get them together. Let's get some entrepreneurial spirit. I've seen many conversations with companies that even introduced each other and maybe will work together in the future. So it had nothing to do with us, but more making that connection, which we really like to do with the DHF Business Club, as we organize 4 times a year, just to get people together who want to be involved in the community.
Yeah, and I think this shows the DHF business and story really well, because so many, particularly financial services businesses, haven't figured out that by putting the clients together, great things happen. And I think it shows everything you guys stand for, that we're going to talk about in a minute. And that's why I wanted to start with that short story, actually, folks, because I think this is the thumbprint that Bas has put on the culture of the business. But look, let's actually go backwards, because your backstory is more interesting than most. Now, how the hell did you end up in investment management, financial services? Where was the start? Yeah. And tell me a bit about the Bas story.
Yeah, so it goes quite far back, when I think it goes as far back as my father being for 35 years in ExxonMobil, one employer for all his life. And I think kids will or follow you, or they will do exactly the opposite of what their parents might done. And I chose the opposite on a very early age. My first invoice was when I was 11 years old, and I made a website for someone, right? It was an Excel sheet invoice style with my personal bank account, nothing official, but that was my very young entrepreneurial, like I want to go and get this done in a different way than in this case my father did, which was really well done for the family, and it's one future that can work, and I kind of just chose the other one, which is the entrepreneurial side. It's the ups and downs, and it's intense, but it should pay off if you do it on the long term, and that was my vision at such a young age. At 16, I asked as birthday present a taxi drive to Chamber of Commerce, and I opened my own IT firm, which I ran for about 4 years. It's very intense to have employees that are twice or sometimes even 3 times your age, and you have to manage the culture and the group all together. So that was a very good learning experience. Then came a little crisis. In 2008, which most of my clients had issues from. So they were, for example, in a farming area, or it was all in Zeeland in the Netherlands. So small, medium businesses just had issues with this 2008 crisis. So I decided to become more of a consultant and work in the data center technology. So I went from IT more to the data center side. Data center is very international, so I went very quickly to have data centers first in London, next to Amsterdam, and then New York, and then Tokyo, and I kind of built up that network for a couple of years. And then I saw the whole telecom market move to digital telecom, so VoIP or voice over IP. And I saw that if IT companies, like I had before, would not switch onto this digital telecom model, the clients at the end would choose a service provider that would have IT and have telecom. So the original telecom was to go and disappear, and the original IT is going to disappear. And the only thing that an SME owner wants was a one-stop shop. So I generated and created a company called VoIP in the Cloud, which in the Netherlands got some popularity. And we got a reseller network of IT companies sharing this story. It's like, get on board or you will fall off. And that was a great time. I was able to actually sell that firm because I built it a wholesale side of the company as well. Simply because I'm not always content with the suppliers that we use, that you say, like, okay, we can do this better, let's build it. So I went into wholesale telecom. And when that started to grow, we had to just sell the retail and reseller side of it. So I did that in about 2013, 2014, and in 2015 I actually got a bit on the wholesale firm because we wrote international software that at the end now, after this whole story, got me into trading and got me into currency markets. So the reason is that we wrote software that we kind of know when you're going to call to another country. How long are you going to call? For example, Turkey, you're going to call. We know that you're going to call to this number for a certain period, like half an hour average. And basically the software then would calculate how much Turkish lira the supplier is going to request us at the end of the month, and we would reserve that amount of Turkish lira on the Rabobank at that moment. So we had 7 currencies, 35 countries, and that really taught me a lot about the international side of business and how currencies are extremely important. And the end result was doing this right, made a 8% gross profit wholesale telecom into a 13% gross profit wholesale telecom business model. Simply of having your currency conversions at the right time, know when the bill is coming, having that currency ready to pay out quickly, that maybe gets you some discount again, etc. So I got so much into finance where the technical telecom was left to my employees at that point. So
I love it.
And then when I sold that, I was just like, I have to stay in this currency trading in the first place. Later, gold became a very important part of my strategy, but this was just the head start of understanding actual currency trading with, let's say, a service or a product internationally, that I feel I understand this market pretty well.
So thank you for unpacking that, Bas. I mean, what a story from age 11. There's a lot we're going to pick up over the coming weeks as we deepen the relationship. And I want to particularly draw something that's very unusual in relatively new financial services firms. And that is that because it's clear to me you've built businesses before, you've seen the tailwinds, the headwinds, the employing people 3 times your age as a young guy. I can see when we first met that one of the most unusual characteristics of your business is you are thinking of it as a business, not just a couple of traders in a room trying to run a hedge fund. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you know from the work you listen to through DXB Partners, a lot of the funds that we find we can't work with are the ones where they haven't built or haven't even got the ambition to build a business around the founders because it's not sustainable. Mm-hmm. It isn't repeatable. And this is what I think is so interesting. Bas has built a team. There's already a team physically here in the Middle East, in Dubai. The activities we're doing together, therefore, leverage neatly off the fact you're already here. Talk to me a little bit, Bas, around the business you're building. You know, where are you in that build? How long is it going to take to finish? Will it ever finish?
Probably not.
Tell me more.
I feel like we are quite innovative firm with a heart for technology, as that is my background. So I think it will never finish to find the next software, to write the next software. So the Dubai part is that we have 2 offices right now. We have an office in the DMCC, which is our IT office. And it's been a very important part because we have traders all over the world. We need this 24/5 presence. But we need to make sure that we have eyes on those traders. And we actually do that with an IT team. So we wrote 2 different software packages. One is doing all the risk management. So we have risk on every trader. We have risk on a sub-asset class, risk on on an asset class. So on every level, we have daily targets, weekly targets, monthly targets, where people are literally getting just like shut down on trading. So if you lose 1% a day and it's 11 a.m., okay, thank you. Take one more coffee, have a good breath, and go home, because we will see you tomorrow again. If that happens on a Thursday, we'll see you on Monday, because Friday is going to be bad anyway. So we take the people side of trading, but we automate the risk side. And then we do something second, quite unusual, that we don't share a lot, but we have rebalancing software. So we have made a benchmark of our trading strategy, and it barely makes you any money. It makes you maybe like 1% a year. And the reason of that is that if you would say, okay, we are entering gold in January and we exit in December, that's the benchmark. They don't make any trades on the way. What we do is we take the profit from a profitable trader. We let the profits run, but then we take the profits and we fill up where the other traders have left off. So our rebalancing made us a very low volatility fund with very high performance. So the funds are always in the right place, and it's fully automated. So we use manual trading. We really believe in traders having the right tools, having the right software, but there's people making decisions on the trading side. Yet it's being automated how much they can risk, and it's being automated that if they have a too high balance, because you only invest in your winners, but and later they make a mistake, you don't want that. So you want them to kind of like take off, withdraw from your profitable accounts and put it into strategies that you still believe in, but have just performed a little bit less. And that rebalancing is our second key. So this is what we do. And yeah, we will never be done with that. The second office in Dubai is a DIFC collaboration that we have, just to open more regulatory options for the GCC region.
Super smart to have actually taken those localization steps. Absolutely key. I couldn't emphasize it enough, and you've already taken all the right steps to do that. So we're delighted. When we think about the DHF products plural, should investors, allocators, influencers, should they be thinking of you guys in the same bucket as the Citadels and Balyasnys and the Millenniums? Is that the bucket they should think of you guys in? Or should they be thinking about you in a different pigeonhole?
No, I think it's comparable. On the other side, we are kind of the slow and steady firm that we want to have, let's say, a certain target every month. Another thing that we do is if we reach target on the 20th of the month, we would just stop. And a lot of people are saying, why would you stop? But it's from the experience that we have as trading our own money, trading family and friends funds, then starting securitization, and now having the hedge fund business in Luxembourg. It's also been a journey of 4 steps in finance for me. And we learned that when you hit your target that you want to have, it's a good thing to stop and not overtrade and not keep going to have a higher performance this month, because we have the risk side so much under control. You don't really have the downside months, so we don't really need the upside months either. So that's kind of our strategy, which makes it different than the brands you mentioned. On the other side, we are a hedge fund. We are in that list, and we have big ambitions to be on the top of that list.
Well, and that's partly why I mentioned the brands, because I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be considered in that venerated group. I think what you're doing is strong enough. You're putting together a business like those guys did, and that's critical. It reminds me of a story Peter Lynch told. Peter Lynch of Fidelity fame, way back when. Most of you listening won't even remember his name. But he once said, because he ran long-only equity money, and he once said, I only want a hedge fund manager who thinks like a taxi driver in New York. And this was at a conference in the late 1990s. And I remember being in the room thinking, what is he talking about? It's exactly what you just said, because the taxi driver gets to his target for the day, clocks off.
Yes.
He doesn't want to add that extra risk to the game because he knows he's done what he needs to do. And so I think it's fascinating you've raised the same logic all these years later. Very, very, very interesting indeed. Now, Bas, let's move on a little bit here to talking about the right type of investor for this product. Now, I know in Europe you've got some sort of high net worth, ultra high net worth backers who've really supported you. In this region in the Middle East, what does that look like? Who do you want in this fund?
So I think it's the same category as we have in Europe. Entrepreneurs that worked really, really hard for their personal savings account, but have absolutely no products to invest in. Like we see the financial market here in this region is also quite young. So yeah, we need the people to be able to give them the returns that we have. We want to find the entrepreneurs that say, I put $1 million in the bank, that we would be able to give them a fixed return on or a variable return through the funds. Most of the investors do have a long-term vision. They are like our securitization products are 3 or 5 years, and the funds are flexible for 35. So I do feel we can cater both of the long run and the short-term investors. Next to that, we see a lot of small corporates at the end of the year. They have booked some profits, and they might be not your regular client. Like we have a company who makes steel products or the foam instead of concrete walls here in the region. That is not a company you might think of, as it's not a financial firm, but it's an entrepreneurial board that believes that their profits can better sit with us than just simply in their bank account savings. So that's the second category. And then, of course, the financial industry in this region. So we have the family offices, we have the financial service providers, we have funds of funds, we have custodian banks. At this moment, I feel that everybody in this region, we got invited to Abu Dhabi Finance Week. I was a speaker there. And for my feeling, that opened a lot of knowledge in the region, that they have come to us to say, like, oh, I do like to see this low volatile product with the right profits for my firm or for my advisory.
Now, that leads me to two rather obvious questions. So let's start with the easy one. We're at the start of 2024, so let's use this year. When we get to Christmas time this year, where will you be happy? Where will you be less happy in terms of returns from the core fund? What will look good to you? What would look less good? What would that return look like?
Yeah, so I think referring to the last year, which was extremely difficult with the Ukrainian war and the issues in Gaza starting in the beginning of October and still in November having a lot of effect on the financial market, that kind of lost us 3 months in trading. We are very conscious when those things happen, and then we want to be very cautious with the client funds. The Alpha fund returned a net profit of 10% and the Gamma fund 15%. If you look at purely currency markets, we had something like 23, 24, which had intenser plus months and intenser minus months. But looking at the stable products, a net return of 10% last year was still over our expectations, but under our target. So our target would be more to have a stable 1%, 1 to 1.5 in the Alpha fund as a product. Looking at our fixed products, we are offering up to 18% fixed returns a year. So we have to make that target anyway. So on our fixed products, we traded a bit differently last year, and can say from the firm's perspective, we did well enough. It was not our best year, but it was a very good year. But we are on here for the long run. I'm doing this for 8 years, and I can compare last year to this year. We don't know what's going to happen this year yet. We hope that the economic and geopolitical issues are staying low so we can keep doing our job. that is the most important for
it
this
is.
year, for my feeling. Everybody's safety, but also the financial stability in the markets.
It's so true, isn't it? So I think just to bring that out and repeat that for the audience. So really, we're looking, particularly in the funds where there isn't necessarily a fixed return. We're aiming at that 1 to 1.5% per month region, yes. Noting that, of course, months can differ. It's not an exact science, but that gives everybody, I think, a clear idea of the ballpark. And you've referenced last year's numbers, and you see the numbers like I do from a lot of the peer group. There are plenty of people who made 2% last year. Yeah. As much as there are some people the other end, most didn't. So I think congrats to you guys for creating those numbers. Now that leads me then to a more controversial question. Over the years, I have noticed that, particularly with newer fund groups, the bottom line is often that the investor is buying you and the team, and actually it sort of doesn't matter what the strategy is. And of course the strategy's got to deliver, but if they believe in you, and we're blessed to be sitting with a few members of your team actually on the terrace here at Raffles on the Palm right now, and they're fantastic people, and I've met others in our journey together within your team. Do you agree or disagree with me? How important is that team dynamic to you pulling funds in the door?
It's very important to have the right team around me, and I'm actually very glad that we got this team around the DHF. I think we are in total with about 65 to 70 people at this moment in 4 different offices. So we have the Luxembourg office, we have the Lithuania back office for KYC, AML, banking relations. We got the new relationship with Citibank for Luxembourg. That's a very important custodian for us, and they're almost an extended team. We speak to them daily, right? So it's very, very important to have the right people around you. Originally, it might be my strategy. At this moment, we have 6 portfolio managers running part of the portfolio that all have their analysts again. So I have a backup asset manager, let's say, which my good friend Ralf Ratterman from the Netherlands with a lot of experience. So we have the structure of 2 asset management managers, 6 portfolio managers, about 15 analysts. So the trading side is covered. And we have the legal side covered with all the regulation in Luxembourg. We got the DIFC here now supporting us with partnerships. We've got a local bank deposit solution as well in the DIFC. So I just see that the structure is there. So it would also work without me. Yet I'm very happy to stay.
and again, I want to bring out something you said a couple of minutes ago that is critical to this. And that is the fact you're in this for the long term. And I think anybody who's listened to the story already and already knows Bas has been operational since age 11. So there's the proof he's in it for the long term. So let's move on a little bit as we move toward the end of the conversation to what's coming next. I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing together so that the audience can see when they can get to see you, how they can engage. But before we get into that, let's just think about the product mix of DHF. So at the moment, we've got some sort of movement funds, really, funds that will move in value month to month. We've got some securitized funds with a more fixed return. Are there ambitions to have something completely different to add to that family of product?
So completely different, maybe not. The funds are the flexible products where people just have the option to come in, to go out. There's a share price. It's calculated on a monthly basis. You can come in every month. You can go out every month. Can be great if you have temporarily revenue too much, or you raised funds for a product, but you only have to pay your suppliers 5 months from now. It actually has enough returns to be able to make that move to us, let it be traded and move it back. This is what we would like to do. The fixed returns are to offset for the long run, to say, okay, I will do 5 years and probably prolong it with 5 years again. Great products for kids and a lot of new generational solutions that we have, where we are able to act as the company that helps you to say, okay, my kids are 12 and I want a 10-year product. So I want a 5 + 5 years. And if anything happens to me, it needs to go to this person. With securitization and in Luxembourg, we are really able to put that on paper already right now. So it's really nice to see. Like basically, I see every client as an individual that has his story and why they invest and how long they want to invest. And we do tailor-made products, and that's actually my side of the business at this moment, because all the default products are default. You have the fact sheets and you invest in what that is. But I like the tailor-made solution. So we have 5 asset classes. So some of them are more volatile, some of them are less volatile. We can invest long-term in physical gold and put it in the safe for you here. And if you want 100% that strategy, that's an option. Next to that, some people want 100% currency markets or 100% equities, but please exclude this company in Europe. So from 5 million plus, we are making full tailor-made solutions that come with different deposit withdrawal options. Maybe you want 8% a year paid out and the rest being compounded into the product, fixed rates like that. We are able to just modify. So we have all the different asset classes, and we are able to make the product, and we can kind of see with our past 8 years of data, we can see what that would be returning for you, looking at the past, projecting into the future.
So there's a couple of reasons I really love that. So again, just to recap, so we've got a product stack which folks you can just look at with Bas and my help. We can figure out what might be appropriate for you. But actually, we've then got a more bespoke, private way of constructing your own asset allocation using the same team that run the other products.
Yes.
So we've got 2 ways into the DHF story. One of the reasons I love this, and I think actually the last 7 days of news has really even more persuaded me of the value of how you guys do this. So we've seen 2 big news stories, but in my view, I'd be interested in your comments in a minute, Bas. One of those news stories, which to me is far bigger, got no coverage at all. So the 2 stories are, we have now a Bitcoin ETF, ladies and gentlemen. If you didn't know, it's been all around the world 72 times. But for me, the much bigger story was the transfer of boomer wealth coming down globally from that. In fact, it's my generation, it's my parents' generation now handing that huge volume of wealth down to these guys who are 50, 55, 50 years old. Now, that money's got to find a place into financial markets. It's generally not very trusting of the original traditional players in the market, because we've all seen what's happened as recently in Switzerland as within the last 12 months. So I think that's the big story. And I think those guys need these sort of options we're discussing here. Don't think they necessarily need a Bitcoin ETF.
No.
What do you think?
So 2 parts. The Bitcoin side, actually the whole cryptocurrency markets. As a technology guy, I was in there very much on time. I bought my first Bitcoins between 300 and 600 euro, which of course we know where the price went now. But having your product mixed with cryptocurrency, even though packed in an ETF, I think disqualifies a certain part for the investors. Some investors are pro crypto, some are con. And I would say that the best way for us, if we would engage into the cryptocurrency market as active traders, which almost all of our traders do in their spare time, probably. But we have not packed that into our products right now. We would need to have a separate fund, which is nice with the DHF asset management GP that we have in Luxembourg. We are able to open a 4th fund and a 5th fund and a 6th fund. It needs to be done when there's enough interest in a cryptocurrency fund like that. We would use exactly the same methods as we are using right now, but then include that on a crypto included portfolio. So that's one of the options. Regarding the, let's say, new wealth that has to find its place, I do see that we are a very young firm with a very open mind on technology. AI is a buzzword last year. And I've been asked for so many interviews on AI, which for us is just algorithmic trading, which we already do for 8 years. AI is in our opinion, AI is when you actually teach a computer/server to think for themselves. That is way too early for the financial markets. It's nice that when you see on Bloomberg, this was an automatically generated news article, because they very quickly got the news and they cap it into a summary, which is great for an analyst. So that is AI. That is like searching for news and getting it together. So from an informational standpoint, it's really there in the financial markets. And if you don't jump on it, you will be probably too late with your performance. So we do, but the full automation of just running AI tech, running your money, actually, a lot of young people are pro this, but they might not know all the consequences of that.
No, and I think there's a lot of, I agree with all of that. And I think I'd add that I think there is a completely unserved community who are coming into this huge pocket of wealth. And where we're sitting, let's face it, apart from it's already the capital of capital, but there's a sub-story there. A lot of that capital actually is now increasingly in the hands of people who are very sophisticated in their world, but not necessarily in the world you and I exist in. And I think that is actually the most important macro trend that's going on.
Clients that we like to help. So you mentioned the Switzerland situation. About a year ago, we had a couple of entrepreneurs who were absolutely not in finance, but had funds in Switzerland. And it was three different partners. They had a couple of million in there, and they just got extremely scared because they don't understand what the financial world means with, we are closing this bank for 4 days. We know it's going to be all right. They're going to get a buyout. They're going to get some support. The money is not gone. It might take a bit of time. We have the same in America with the banks having issues, but at the end, it mostly sorts out for the entrepreneurial accounts. That's it. In our case, we just need to listen to them. We need to support them. We need to see how can they move money, when can they move money, where can they move it. It doesn't even have to be to us. At that moment, I think we need to be the listening ear and the support with our financial knowledge. And of course, great if then partly of that gets invested with DHF. But our goal was mostly to see how can we help people with locked up funds at that moment, and where can we advise them to go? What can we advise them to say to get the right priority of your account being on top of the list compared to all the others who are just waiting? So I just see that we have so much feet in this market that we can help everybody who is still standing outside.
And that's a lovely thing to hear. Again, let's face it, folks, we don't often hear about financial services entrepreneurs being also ears open, not just mouth open, which I think is critical and shows your culture. So let's close off with talking a little bit about what we're going to do together in the coming weeks and months. So I mentioned at the top of this recording, we feel very proud that we're able to represent DHF in the GCC region to help get distributed flow into their product as part of a long-term strategy. And that involves quite a lot of marketing communication, such as we're doing today. But it also involves a lot of shoe leather. I'm noticing here, we're both wearing leather on our feet, which is unusual for Dubai. But it actually is so necessary to get you in front of people in the region, alongside all of the people you're already meeting every day, because I know you're super active. We're then going to have you with us back here in Dubai in March, as well as hopping over to Bahrain to meet some new networks. And the reason we do that, folks, is we're trying to basically deliver a ready-made network in addition to the one the guys at DHF have already got in the fastest possible time. Because although unlocking networks takes time, we're trying to concertina the time to actually acquire the group in the first place. So those are some of the things we're doing together. From your side, Bas, just talk to me a little bit around what you're looking forward to, how it's gone so far. What does the future hold in the GCC for you guys?
Yeah, I really like the warm welcome I got into the GCC a couple of years ago from IT side. The real warm welcome came last year with some more PR activities, getting invited on the CMC Arabia, the Sky News Arabia 2 weeks back. They just genuinely are interested in what are you doing and how are you doing it. And we are really able to share. It's like Tesla giving all their patents away and say, if you can make a better car, go and make it. If you want to know the percentage of currencies and the percentage of metals and the percentage of stocks, I'm happy to share. It's in our prospectus after you enter our data room. because you want to know what you're investing in. It's not a black box. It's not rocket science either, maybe, but it does work for a very long time. And it does take a lot of time to do it in the right way, because we are behind the computer when that NFP happens in the first Friday with the numbers in the US. We are there when the world's literally on fire sometimes, and we manage that money. That's what we do. But it's still such a great way to see in the GCC region that still needs education, and we are happy to share that. So that's one thing that really happened. For the future, we are investing in the DIFC at this moment to get it all done and sorted. I'm really happy with extra people joining our team, and I'm also happy to say that they are coming from very sophisticated places. When you have people from Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan coming for job interviews because they want to work for you, that was such a big stamp of approval that they are willing to look into where they are now and that they see a future with DHF. Same as every client making the decision to be and stay with DHF. So I'm just very happy to see this happening and to stay on top of it. And these are very, very long work days and very long work weeks. I'm happy that the GCC region partly moved to Monday to Friday, but yesterday was Sunday, and we had a 4-hour meeting with a new partnership. So we are here indeed, boots on the ground. We have a fixed team in Dubai, as well as that I'm flying in and out as much as needed for this region as well.
No, thank you, Bas, and that's a lovely bridge, really, just to finish off today by saying, I think, again, that belief in what you're doing is also very much in our team too. So I think 2024 is going to be a very special year for all of us together. I feel it very strongly. And I feel that actually, notwithstanding the world's woes, actually the way you guys are running money, but frankly, more importantly, the way you guys run the business is what will appeal to the investment crowd here in GCC. So, Bas Kooijman, thank you so much for some time today. Can't wait for you to be back with us in a few weeks' time. Looking forward to all the results we get together.
Thank you so much for having me, and we are very happy with this partnership for the region. I'm looking forward to the many events that we will organize together.
Thank you, Bas.